Okay, so you started out with your eye sockets, right? Now we're going to move on to the flesh of the eye. The flesh of the eye, there's a lot of things that cover up the eye socket. Now, I'm really tired. It's Wednesday of the first week back from Christmas break, so you can see these dark circles under my eyes, right? And if you're older, you can really start seeing bone structure in me. So, like, I want to point out, like, this is my brow bone right here. And you can see how, for me, because I'm 41, you're seeing a lot of the bone structure coming out because gravity's happened, right? So, like, I've had 41 years for my flesh to just kind of, like, start sagging down. And that's why I tell you, go and look up pictures of old men or old women, but old men are funnier looking. And you're going to see bones. And that's really, really helpful in sculpture. I highly recommend looking at pictures of old guys. As far as flesh goes, you have a lot of flesh. I love teaching this so that I can like freak you guys out with how fleshy my face is. So you have all this flesh up here in your eyelids. Obviously, you have the eyelid itself going over your eyeball. Okay, then you have an eyelid coming underneath, but that eyelid, this skin is pretty thin. So we're going to do a lot of things to fix this area so that it doesn't look like an eyeball with an eye socket. Okay, we're going to make it look more fleshy. So here's your first step. You're going to create two eyelids and an almond shape there. So what I'm going to do for this, I'm going to kind of try and work backwards here. A little bit forward, a little bit backwards. That's the nice thing about banding wheels. So I'm scoring, wow, that's wonky. I'm going to score and slip in 2 coils, okay? And these are pretty soft. All of your clay should be pretty soft, okay? Now the coil, the top coil, first off, you don't want this to be too thick. The top coil is going to bend in an arch shape, kind of like a rainbow. It goes over the top of your eyeball. And then the bottom shape is, instead of a rainbow, it's a smile. And that goes over the eyeball as well. And you have, try not to crush these too much, I just crushed that one. So you have yourself an almond shape then. That almond shape is where your eye is open. All right? So now that you have that almond shape, what we have to do is we have to blend this because this just looks bizarre and freakish right now. Now here's what I want to tell all of you. Please remember that perfection is kind of a load of crap. Okay? So like if you look at my eyes right now, my eyes are not symmetrical. One eye is actually a little bit higher than the other. And if you look at yourself or even some movie stars, we're all super wonky, okay? Like I looked at Jennifer Aniston to do a drawing of her one time for some stupid project. I don't even remember what it was about. But she has some real differences in her face, even though it appears like she's perfectly symmetrical. So let's just say this, perfection's unattainable. So why bother? Having fun is more important. Okay, so getting on to the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to blend our eyelids in. And what we have to do is we have to basically stomp down the outside of this coil in order to reveal our eye socket without making sure that our eye socket is shown. So we want to make sure that we see our eye socket with a little bit of flesh over the top of our eye socket. Hard, right? We can do it. If you're in school, use this tool. If you're not in school, maybe just come up with a tool that works. So I'm using a chopstick to see how that works. And what I'm going to do is take, and along the top edge, I'm stomping down the outside edge of both eye sockets, both the bottom and the top. Okay? Now, if you are working in school with this, it's a little bit more easy to just stomp that outside edge down. Without really making, you know, too much wonk. So now that we've stomped that down, what you can do is you can start buttering the outside edge. So watch this. I'm taking it and I'm just kind of smoothing away. And what that's doing is it's taking away this weird wonky edge. So we're just taking it and buttering it. You can even take your finger, and this is really super quick. You can take your finger and just slide it. And you guys have to remember, I'm working into a camera here to do this. It's hard for me. And I'm just thinning out that eyelid area and kind of tapping it a little bit to make it look more eyelid-y. And personally, my feeling is I really want to make sure that I get this interior sockety-ness, because this interior corner is really what is showing in terms of your eye socket. So you can get a little bit of that going. Okay? Now we're not done yet. We're going to kind of perfect this out by adding on a little bit more eye fat. But let me just kind of smooth out this outside edge. I'm at 6 minutes, 30 seconds. I hope you're not too bored yet. You know, it's tough entertaining you kids. Now, if you notice on here, like they're not symmetrical. I don't care, okay? I'm at a point where I want to be able to have like a unique feature to my eyelids. So really I'm more concerned about making my eyelids kind of look like they belong in the face, as opposed to looking like they are symmetrical with one compared to another. So I have two eyelids. Now, I have to see each eyelid for the individual that it is, right? So, like, I'm looking at this eyelid. I have, like, a super sticky out, like, crazy amount here. I have no cheekbone. So, obviously, I'm going to have to add a little clay into there to get a little bit more of a cheekbone in. So, the idea here is there's no hard lines on your face, okay? No hard lines. But also, what you want to do is you want to start adding in some fat, flesh, in order to make it so that you have something that looks kind of like right. So I'm going to add in a little bit of eyebrow fat into here. Now anytime you add in fat, remember that you probably should score and slip it first. My clay is super soft, so I mean I'm just going to do like a little touch, but then I'll be okay. I like to take and kind of like make it so that I have almost kind of like a thinned out tip, almost like a slug. Okay, so maybe instead of saying I'm adding on fat, maybe I'm adding on a slug. This is for my eyebrow fat area. Okay, that's so that wind, rain, cold, that's going to hit here instead of my eyeball, because this is such a delicate area. Okay, so now what I can do is I can start tapping this so that it's looking a little bit more like it belongs. I can even blend out the edge. I can blend this bottom out. If I can't get to it, I'm going to find a knife, like a buttering knife, or, you know, a small sculpture tool, a toothpick. Whatever it is, you can just start kind of blending that out and making it so that you have something that belongs a little bit more. Now, a lot of kids want to know, like, what do I do about the eyeball? Like, how do I make an iris look really dark inside of the eyeball? So I'm going to do a Michelangelo trick, and this is where, if you're home, you'd need a toothpick. So I'm going to actually stab it. So I'm going to imagine something hostile that I'm really frustrated with. And then I'm going to stab it in the eye. Okay? You see why I like teaching this project. It's so much fun. So then I want to just kind of take it and get a really deep U. Okay? And I'm going to pull out that U right there. But you can see I left a little bit of clay in. Now I have to turn it a tiny bit. And so here is why I left a little bit of clay in. If you ever were to see a light shining, generally speaking, there's a sparkle in the eye, and that is kind of the indication of where the light is coming from. So I usually put it toward the top, and that's why I have kind of a U there. So that will tell you where this person is looking. Okay, if you're still really intent on creating an iris, so that's really kind of indicating my pupil. If you're still really desperate to indicate an iris, you can take and just maybe kind of like, instead of drawing it out, don't scrape down with a needle tool, okay? Instead, just maybe like inch in or shove in a little curved line into the either side of that, and you're gonna get kind of like a pupil-y looking thing here. I'm gonna clean this up. Oh, by the way, if you wanna make your guy look kind of tired or gaunt, you can get kind of like an eye sockety looking thing here. You can even add a touch of flesh into the underside. And remember, anytime you're adding in flesh, you blend out the outside so that you don't see those edges, okay? Then you can go in and start playing around with the idea of having kind of an edge. So there is my one sculpted eye. That's 11 minutes and 40 seconds. We do these things in one take, so maybe you fast forward. Who knows if you're even watching? I don't know. If you're watching, maybe shoot me an email and say, you're a doll. All right, take care. Bye.